subconscious rapid transformation technique is basically a technique to access your subconscious mind, find the root cause of the issue, and then interact with that part of you that had that experience, which is the younger you, the child, validate the emotions, release the painful emotions, and change the disempowering beliefs without reliving pain and without talk therapy and without sitting there and asking you, where did you grow up? How old are you? How many siblings do you have? Where did you go to school? Tell me about your mother and father. And you spend 10 sessions, 10 months just trying to get to know each other. Instead, this is like precision surgery. So all I say to you is, what is it you want that you don't yet have? A new client today says, I want peace. And I said, okay, well, if you want peace, something's blocking it. What's blocking it? And she says, anxiety. I wake up with anxiety. I'm sure, Dr. Wanis, you must have lots of patients that experience this. And I said, anxiety is the feeling that your world's out of control, coupled with the attempt to try to control something that you can't. What's your earliest memory or experience of feeling that your world is out of control? Goes back to age 4, when 3 or 4, when she's been taken to kindergarten and is screaming, doesn't want to go to kindergarten. Every day, crying, holding on to her mother. What I do, unlike traditional therapy, which says to you, let the emotion out, feel the pain, I say, no, that doesn't actually work. Because if you look at post-traumatic stress disorder, what is it really? It's you reliving the trauma. So reliving the trauma doesn't work. Because if it did, every time you re-experience trauma, it'd be less and less, and eventually you'd be free of it. And crying for the sake of crying doesn't set you free either.
Are you curious about discovering ways of making your life better? Then welcome to my podcast. I'm Bob Nickman, and this is The Exploding Human. Listen in while I talk with all kinds of people in the fields of personal growth, health and healing, alternative therapies, psychology, spirituality, environment, and the future. I'm looking for those answers that make life better for everyone. You'll meet cutting-edge practitioners, doctors, artists, filmmakers, business people, and those who have overcome challenges. The brave, the curious, anyone who is out there helping us humans to explore, expand, and explode. Hey, welcome to The Exploding Human. My name is Bob Nickman. My guest today is Patrick Wanis, and we are going to be talking about SRTT, Subconscious Rapid Transformation Technique. More about that in a second. First, I want to invite you to visit my website, theexplodinghuman.com. Over there you can listen to episodes, read synopses, see photos of my guests, little bio on myself. There's a donate button if you'd like to support the show through Patreon. Thank you very much. You can also listen on YouTube, The Exploding Human with Bob Nickman, add with Bob Nickman for YouTube, and The Exploding Human Facebook page. As I said, my guest today is Patrick Wanis, and he has developed a therapy which he calls Subconscious Rapid Transformation Technique. It is a synthesis of many of the disciplines he has studied over the years. You're going to be finding out how he came to develop this technique. And it is a very quick way to get to the root of a lot of issues, particularly childhood trauma. I think perhaps the best way to describe this technique in the simplest way is it neutralizes disempowering beliefs. And we have a little bonus in this episode. Patrick is going to take me through a short session of this powerful technique, which I did. And you'll be able to hear that, and then I listened to it again, and then again when I was editing. So you can kind of see how it works, and I have to say there were lasting effects. It was very powerful. So please listen in. This is Patrick Wanis. Morning, Patrick. Glad you decided to be a part of my podcast, because I love the topics that we're going to be talking about, which is healing trauma and addiction. We can talk about relationships, all the stuff that people struggle with in life. And we're going to talk about the technique that you have developed over the years.
I think what people struggle with generally, Bob, is trying to control things that they can't control. That's the one thing that most people struggle with, is being able to determine what can I control, what can't I control. Let me focus on what I can control. Let me learn to accept the other things I can't control. And what I really can control is myself, not anyone else. Let me focus on controlling my thoughts and emotions. I'm not a robot. I can't have complete control over my thoughts and emotions, but I can have primary control over my thoughts and emotions.
You know, I always talk about the simplest version of mental health is thought management. That's kind of what I call it. And what are the techniques that I can do so my thoughts don't take me in directions that make me unhappy or to act out in ways that are not beneficial to myself or other people?
Well, you're right that the thought will create an emotion, but sometimes it can work the other way around too. The emotion can create a thought. You can feel fear and not even know what the conscious thought is, because it's not a conscious thought. It's a subconscious thought. We also have what's known as non-conscious. If you're holding your microphone right now, which you are, and I come behind you and I make a loud noise, you will jump. And then you'll say, bloody hell, you startled me. But you've said it after you were startled. And what happened was there was no conscious processing. It was a non-conscious response that says loud noise equals fear, and suddenly your body responds. So there are some aspects of us that are not necessarily conscious or subconscious. They're non-conscious. But generally speaking, most of us operate with subconscious thoughts and beliefs that therefore determine not only the way that we'll feel, but determine the way we'll behave, and it will even determine a physical response and manifestation within our body. A panic attack, an anxiety attack, feeling nervous, feeling afraid are all real things that obviously come from either a specific thought, a subconscious thought, or it could be bringing up an old trauma. Something could happen right now that triggers an old trauma. It could be an authority figure. It used to happen to me constantly. If I thought I was about to get in trouble, I would freak out. But there's no conscious thought that says I'm going to get in trouble. What it was doing was bringing up the reliving of childhood abuse, of my dad, who's an authority figure, going to go and beat me for something I've done. So again, what I'm basically saying is we want to get clear about what are your conscious thoughts and what are your subconscious thoughts? What are those defining moments and experiences in your life? And unfortunately, 99% of the time, the defining moments and experiences were either the traumatic or adverse experiences which created intense emotion and which our body and our mind remembers.
Yeah, I was using your example of startling me by coming up behind me with the microphone. Literally, the next time I pick up a microphone to do another podcast, if that had happened, maybe every time now that I pick up a microphone since this traumatic thing, I might go, I wonder if that's going to happen again, or I'm on alert for it, or I'm not as comfortable holding a microphone because I got really frightened the last time. So those things can really be, some people, they get more obsessive about it too.
Right. So you've experienced this, I'm sure. You've met someone who says, oh, no, I can't go into the ocean, or I can't go into the swimming pool. Why not? Well, because I almost drowned when I was 3. And I'm like, but the water's completely calm and we're only going to go up to our knees. And I remember meeting a friend like this, and she said, no, I can't go into the ocean at all because I'm that afraid. And so the mind makes an association and says water equals pain. Yeah. So again, the same thing happens with trauma, where I use the example of fear of an authority figure or fear of getting in trouble. But it could be anything. If you've experienced sexual abuse, then it could be someone appearing to dominate you, or in that one moment they say or they do something and suddenly you are reliving that experience where you are helpless, powerless, and someone is sexually abusing you. So again, the idea is to find out what are your thoughts, what are your emotions? And you can work from either one, because if you tell me, well, I'm experiencing anxiety, then I'll say to you, anxiety is the feeling that your world is out of control, coupled with the attempt to try to control something that you can't. In what way do you feel or believe your world is currently out of control? And what are you trying to control that you can't? And then that gives us an insight into what's happening right now. And then what I say to my clients, well, what's your earliest memory or experience of feeling that your world is out of control? And it'll always go back to childhood. It'll be something that happened, maybe something mum did or dad did or didn't do. Maybe you were experiencing something and mum wasn't there to protect you or dad wasn't there to protect you. And so again, we are programmed in the first few years of our life. And unless we intervene as an adult to change that programming, we continue to live off that program. That program actually controls us.
Sometimes, people, well, probably everyone, they grow up with a set of parents, and whatever the behavior is, it's an ongoing type of behavior. So it's reinforced. It's not just one incident.
Of course,
it's reinforced incidents. So it's like, I have evidence that this is real because it's happened so many times.
All right, let's look at that.
carry it.
You're exactly right. So children learn 4 ways. They watch, they copy what they see. They listen, even when you think they're not listening, and they believe what they're told, particularly if it's something said about them. The third way children learn is they have an individual experience. And because children are egocentric and they think the universe revolves around them, they'll blame themselves for what happens. Mum and dad are arguing. Mum divorced, dad left. Therefore, it must be my fault. Dad left us. There's something wrong with me. The fourth way that children learn is absorbing the emotions of the household or the emotions of the person, the parent they most resonated with, or the parent that was the dominant. Now, to address your point, because you're exactly right, one incident can be reinforced via repetition. Now, it could be, so I might have a client who was sexually abused once, and that stays with them. Another client may have been sexually abused multiple times by the same person. Another client may have been sexually abused on various occasions, and then as she gets into her teen years, she finds herself being raped again or being molested or sexually assaulted. Not because it's her fault, not because she's to blame, but what she doesn't recognize is that because of her experiences, she tends to expose herself to high-risk situations. Or even though you would think she's better at determining who's safe and not safe, she doesn't. And so she gets attracted to people that aren't safe. Does that make sense?
Completely. And I always wonder about when you meet certain people that have a history of the same thing happening to them. I think it's that, what you're saying. And I also think predatory people have a intuitive sense of who can be victimized.
Exactly. So a predatory person, and I think we all have this skill, just a predator has developed that skill, and that is to be able to read people. So we have a thing called mirror neurons. Mirror neurons is the capacity for you to look at my face and then say, Patrick, you look sad. I go, no, I don't. You go, yeah, you look sad. Now, you can't tell me what it is about my face that looks sad, but your brain looks at me and replicates the emotion internally. Yep. It's mirroring what you see so that you experience, so that then you can say, Patrick isn't safe because he looks angry and I think he might attack me. That's the purpose of mirror neurons. So we all have the ability to read other people. We just often shut it down. A predator is highly skilled at selecting prey and victims because they pay attention and they look. I do the same thing in a positive way, meaning if you show me a photo of one person and tell me nothing about that person, I can read that person, not because I'm a psychic or a clairvoyant, but because I look at that person, I say, what feelings do I get? What emotions do I get? What do I sense from this person? I look at their eyes. And we all have this ability if we choose to develop it, if we choose to pay attention.
Yeah, it's intuition and an understanding on a non-logical level that it's really a visceral kind of thing, which, you meet people sometimes, you go, God, I feel like I've known that guy forever. And you just feel super comfortable and you go, wow, this is great. And then other people, you're like, I got to run the other way. This person's a creep.
Well, Bob, you're talking about a couple of different things. So we often believe that intuition is just a gut feeling, and it is a feeling we experience in the gut. But often our intuition is also based on experience. The more experience I have with, say, people that are untrustworthy, then my intuition should be stronger. Because really it's based on past facts or past evidence. The concept of visceral is, I just think that we have the skill of mirror neurons. We can look at someone, we can say, what feeling do I get? What do I sense around this person? The visceral aspect, and I haven't done any scientific study into this, but it's something we refer to as, like emotional vampires. You stand near someone and just ask yourself, what do I feel around this person? What happens in my body around this person? Because that'll give you some insights into two things. One, who is that person? And second, what is your issue?
Yeah.
Because if you stand next to someone and let's say you feel really nervous and anxious, and that person, you do the research and there's nothing dangerous about that person. It might simply be that you don't think you're good enough. You're afraid. You're afraid they might reject you, not because they're bad, but because you don't think you're subconsciously good enough. So again, I'm always looking at, how does my inner world affect my outer world, and how does my outer world affect my inner world?
Yeah, I wanted to talk about, because I was fascinated with this technique that you developed. I mean, I think a lot of people, and I know you started with hypnotherapy, so maybe you can talk a little bit about that, but also this subconscious rapid transformation technique that you've developed. And what I think is interesting and attractive about that is the speed with which you can fix or mitigate.
Help.
Yeah. And I did do a podcast on EMDR, which seems to be very effective for a lot of people. This seems to be, in that, it's probably not this. It's obviously not the same, but it's in that category of, are there ways that we can help ourselves that don't take, 5-10 years of talk therapy?
Yes. So a couple of things. EMDR, it's interesting because if you do even more research into EMDR, yes, it does work for a lot of people without any doubt. But it's not actually the eye movements, it's the exposure. So there's been studies done that said the eye movement, you can have the same effectiveness with EMDR without the eye movement. But putting that aside, my background is in hypnotherapy. So when I was doing a lot of hypnosis and I was highly skilled at it, people were saying to me, people were either coming to the city where I live or I was going to their city. And then people started saying to me, well, can you do it over the phone? I went, over the phone? I don't think so, but I guess I could try. So I started doing sessions over the phone, and it continued to evolve where I got to the point of realizing, not consciously, but just shortening what's known as the induction technique, that I don't actually need to formally hypnotize anyone. And it continued to evolve organically by blending a number of other therapies. So let me explain. Subconscious rapid transformation technique is basically a technique to access your subconscious mind, find the root cause of the issue, and then interact with that part of you that had that experience, which is the younger you, the child, validate the emotions, release the painful emotions, and change the disempowering beliefs without reliving pain and without talk therapy and without sitting there and asking you, Where did you grow up? How old are you? How many siblings do you have? Where did you go to school? Tell me about your mother and father. And you spend 10 sessions, 10 months just trying to get to know each other. Instead, this is like precision surgery. So all I say to you is, what is it you want that you don't yet have? A new client today says, I want peace. And I said, okay, well, if you want peace, something's blocking it. What's blocking it? And she says, anxiety. I wake up with anxiety. I'm sure, Dr. Wanis, you must have lots of patients that experience this. And I said, anxiety is the feeling that your world's out of control, coupled with the attempt to try to control something that you can't. What's your earliest memory or experience of feeling that your world is out of control? Goes back to age 4, when 3 or 4, when she's been taken to kindergarten and is screaming, doesn't want to go to kindergarten. Every day, crying, holding on to her mother. What I do, unlike traditional therapy, which says to you, let the emotion out, feel the pain, I say, no, that doesn't actually work. Because if you look at post-traumatic stress disorder, what is it really? It's you reliving the trauma. So reliving the trauma doesn't work. Because if it did, every time you re-experience trauma, it'd be less and less, and eventually you'd be free of it. And crying for the sake of crying doesn't set you free either. So instead, what I do is I say, okay, let's talk about this little girl who's 4 years of age. When you think about that memory, where do you see her? And so, for example, she might say, I see her clinging to her mother. Okay. Can you imagine going up to her? Can you imagine connecting? Then we start to interact with her as if she's someone that's really alive, like right now. Are you with me so far?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Absolutely.
So then what we do from that moment is we actually start to identify what did she feel in that experience, and we validate each of those emotions, and we might even do a few visualizations to release the emotions. Now, this sounds a little new agey, it sounds a little esoteric, a little mystical, but it's not. Because what you're doing is you're using the subconscious mind, which works in imagery and symbolism, to pull up the way that it's interpreting that past experience. And it's a memory of holding on to a parent. As we do the work of identifying, validating the emotions, releasing the emotions, suddenly that same image organically changes. So I say, well, how does the little girl look now? And the client says to me, she's smiling. She's not clinging to mum anymore, and she seems to be calmer. Now, I don't tell the client, tell the little girl to let go of her mum, tell her to be calm, tell her to smile. It all happens organically. So the image is reflecting to us what is actually changing and transforming. And I've done this, or rather, it shocked clients when I'm pointing out to them, you realize that you're doing this organically. I'm not telling you to change this image. So even when I get them to interact with the image of the instigator, the parent, whoever it was that did or didn't do something that created the pain, as we do the same process interacting with the child and with the parent, the image of the parent changes. So originally it was dad's standing there looking angry. And I say, when you look in his eyes, what else do you see and feel? Well, he's in pain. Why is he angry? Why is he in pain? We look at that. We work through that. And eventually it'll get to, well, how does dad look now? Well, he's not angry anymore. His head's down. Well, why is his head down? I think because he feels sorry. Why does he feel sorry? He recognizes that he hurt this child, et cetera, et cetera.
Mm-hmm.
So I might be going into too much detail, Bob, but the point
No, I love
is,
it. I love it. I think it's great.
Thank you.
Yeah.
The point is, Bob, that all of this, everything I'm describing, exists in your head. It's not. It doesn't exist outside.
I'm laughing
of you.
because it is all in there. Yeah.
It's the image of the child is your image. The image of the parent is the image that you've created of your parent. And so sometimes I'll shock clients as we get further to saying, you realize now how your image of your father has changed? You've done it on your own.
Yeah.
We've worked together, but it's changed. And now you have a different feeling towards your father. Now you have a different feeling towards yourself. Now you've released the anxiety because we've changed your own thoughts and beliefs. We haven't put anything else in there. And the way that we change the disempowering beliefs is by presenting new evidence.
So when you're working with these clients, how do you get them into a state where they can do this kind of work?
Okay. So the beauty of subconscious rapid transformation technique is you don't need to formally hypnotize anyone. You don't need to do any formal techniques. In fact, I haven't done it in a few years because of the pandemic, but I used to teach at the annual convention of the National Guild of Hypnotists. And I would teach, you don't need to formally hypnotize someone. Here's how you can still get the same results or better and faster results. It's great to obviously explain how it works. It's even better to actually demonstrate the way it works. So if you're open to doing a couple of minutes of the process of subconscious rapid transformation technique, here's what we can do. Let's think of something that you would actually like to change positively. Because as I said to you earlier in our conversation, the first question I pose to every new client is, what is it you want that you don't yet have? So think of something right now, Bob, that you want that you don't yet have. Could be anything, different feeling, a different emotion, a different behavior.
Okay. I would like to have a more open heart and be more vulnerable.
Okay, so you want
less
to have
defensive, on the negative side, less defensive on the getting rid of, but just open, less defensive, more vulnerable.
To be more open, to have more of an open heart, to be less defensive, and to be more vulnerable. How would you know if you were all of those things?
That's a great question. I love that question. I would feel lighter, happier, and less guarded.
Okay, so this makes sense because you'd be less guarded if you were more vulnerable. And vulnerability is that the fear to be vulnerable is the fear of being hurt, being rejected, being criticized, condemned, or judged. What's your earliest memory or experience of either being criticized, condemned, judged, rejected, hurt in some way?
I have a lot of ongoing memories of that, particularly from my mother, a feeling that I was constantly being watched and judged.
Okay,
and commented on.
So stay with me because I'm going to guide you from here on it with your permission. So with your eyes open or your eyes closed, when you think back to that experience, to being a little boy and your mum constantly watching you, what image or memory comes to mind?
Feeling unsafe to be myself.
Now notice I asked you what image or memory comes to mind, and for you was an emotion because you said feeling unsafe.
Yes.
So if you think about that feeling of feeling unsafe, that experience of feeling unsafe, is there a specific memory that comes to mind or an image of the little boy?
Playing and being watched.
Okay, so stay with me. You're doing great. With your eyes closed, if you think back to being a little boy, playing and being watched, where do you see that little boy, little Bob, and how old is he?
Well, I would say he's 2 or 3.
Okay, so let's go with the age 3. Where do you see him when you say he's playing? Is he indoors or outdoors?
Indoors on a carpet, playing with some toys, maybe.
Okay, so he's indoors on the carpet playing with some toys. Can you imagine going up to him?
Yes.
Great. Can you imagine connecting with him?
Yes.
Excellent. When you look in his eyes, what do you see and feel?
I see somebody wanting to just be and enjoy and free of anything other than the joy of the moment.
Okay, so you're describing his desire to be free. And if you look a little deeper in his eyes, what else do you see and feel?
He's worried.
He's worried. Can you
Yeah.
imagine saying aloud to him, that's okay, I understand?
Yeah. Would you like me to say that? Because I will
Sure.
say that. Yeah, that's okay. I understand.
And then you say to him, I'm here to help and support you.
I'm here to help and support you.
Excellent. So when you say that this little boy who's just 3 years of age that's playing on the carpet is feeling worried, what's he worried about?
That there will be some kind of a disapproval or a correction, or he will cause his mother to become afraid.
Uh-huh. So he's actually concerned or worried or afraid of being disapproved. But then you also said that his mother will become afraid. What does that mean?
Well, my first reaction to that is that he doesn't want that responsibility.
Okay, so stay with me because this is really important. So here we have a little boy who's playing, who wants to be in the moment. His desire is to be free and to just do what children do, which is play, be curious, explore the world. But he's worried about his mum's response. He's specifically worried about her disapproving of him. And then he's worried about her being afraid. And then he's also worried or concerned that he's going to be responsible for her. So connecting with this little boy, in what way did his mum used to become afraid?
I think it was just an actually, well, if he was going to be possibly injured, hurt,
Okay.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So she was concerned for his physical safety. How did
Yeah.
mum express her fear of this little boy's physical safety?
Hovering and correction.
So mum would hover over this little boy and then she would correct him. So connecting again with this little boy, what did he feel when mum hovered over him and corrected him?
Well, he felt invaded on, and he felt there must be something off about him, that he needed to be watched that way.
All right, so stay with me because we've gone from the emotion to the thought. We'll look at the thought in a moment.
Mm-hmm.
Let's just start with the emotion. So when his mum was hovering over him and afraid for him, for his physical safety, he felt invaded. And you say to him, that's okay, I understand.
That's okay, I understand.
And then he has the thought of what? There must be something off with me for her to respond this way. And you validate his thought by saying, again, that's okay, I understand.
That's okay, I understand.
Then you say to him, you're allowed to feel whatever you feel.
You're allowed to feel whatever you feel.
Whatever you feel is important.
Whatever you feel is important.
And whatever you feel matters to me and it makes a difference.
Whatever you feel matters to me and it makes a difference.
Excellent. How does this little boy respond?
He likes it a lot.
Excellent.
Yeah, he likes it a lot. He's like, my question is, where you been?
Okay, let's continue to help him so that we can neutralize this gap, this distance of where have you been. So when he felt invaded, he felt worried and he felt invaded, and then he felt like there was something off with him. What else did he think and feel?
He was frustrated and angry.
So stay with me because we're describing two emotions. So let's start with the frustration. Frustration is the response to having a goal or an objective and you just can't achieve it. What was this little boy trying to achieve, but there was an obstacle preventing him from achieving it?
Just to feel free and playful the way that he wanted to be.
Yes, makes complete sense.
Yeah.
He felt frustrated because he wanted to be free and he wanted to play. And because of the way his mum responded to him, he couldn't. And then did he feel angry after that?
Yes.
Okay. And so you
Yes.
say to him again, validating what he's feeling, you say, that's okay. I understand.
That's okay. I understand.
So anger is the response to feeling hurt, injured, or wronged, or not getting what you want. And what was causing this little boy's anger?
The inability to feel free to be expressive and live in joy.
The inability to feel free to be expressive and to live in joy. So again, you say to him, that's okay, I understand.
That's okay. I understand.
And then you say, I'm here to help and support you.
I'm here to help and support you.
So where in his body does he feel that old anger, and to whom is it directed?
Oh, that was an uncomfortable question.
Aha. So where in
Thank you
your
for
body
that.
did you feel that anger?
Throat and chest.
So connect with the little boy, because that anger is in his throat and chest. And it's important that you see it in his body, because this is how we'll make the change.
Okay.
Can you see it in his body, in his throat and chest?
Yes.
Excellent. Does that old anger have a color associated with it?
So, the first color that came to me is red.
So stay with it. That's fine. So at whom is this little boy angry at? And in fact, before we even look at that, let's think about why that old red anger is in his throat and chest. What does it symbolize or mean when you say it's in his throat?
He can't say
Yes.
in words what he's feeling.
It's stuck in his throat. He wants to speak. If his throat could speak, what would this little boy say?
Fuck you, leave me alone.
Right. Now that makes sense, doesn't it?
It makes sense to me. Yes, absolutely.
Okay, so connecting with this little boy, you say to him, that's okay, I understand.
That's okay. I understand.
And you're allowed to feel whatever you feel.
And you're allowed to feel whatever you feel.
And whatever you feel matters to me and makes a difference.
And whatever you feel matters to me and makes a difference.
Excellent. How does little Bob respond?
Well, there's a thank you. And I still don't feel like I can trust that, but it would be great if it was true.
So let's validate what he's feeling. And he's just saying to you, he doesn't know if he can trust. He doesn't yet feel safe enough to trust. So you say to him, that's okay. I understand.
That's okay. I understand.
And you're allowed to feel whatever you feel.
You're allowed to feel whatever you feel.
So why doesn't he yet feel safe enough to trust? What does he need?
Well, I mean, it feels like he's torn between pleasing himself and pleasing or helping his mother.
All right, so let's help him with that. So for a moment, can you imagine a glass dome around you and this little boy?
Okay.
Excellent. On the other side of the glass dome is mum. What's your image of mum, or what is she doing?
She's kind of walking around and looking in and busy with, household kind of stuff. And
okay. And when you look in her eyes, what do you see and feel?
She's worried about doing a good job.
She's worried about doing a good job as it pertains to what? Good job.
As it pertains to, raising me and being...
raising this little boy, her son.
Yeah.
Okay, that makes sense. Given that she's worried about raising this little boy, doing a good job, how does that affect her behavior and the way she treats him?
She's overly cautious and probably a little OCD about it.
Right. Now, remember we said earlier in the beginning of this session that children learn 4 ways, and one of the ways they learn is to absorb the emotions of the household or the dominant parent or the parent they most resonated with. In this case, what did this little boy absorb from his mother?
He absorbed fear and some anxiety.
Yep.
And a need to, a couple things: be perfect. So, and take care of make sure that he didn't do anything that would upset his mother.
Wow. So this little boy didn't just absorb worry and fear. It went further. It became anxiety, which is the feeling that your world's out of control or trying to control something you can't. And then it went even higher than that to the level of perfectionism, which is going to then also create anxiety, fear, and worry. So connecting with this little boy, let's validate what he's experiencing simply by saying to him, that's okay, I understand.
That's okay, I understand.
So there's quite a few layers here. Let's see if we can continue to help and support him by coming back to the anger that was stuck in his throat and chest, which was really trying to express, I want to be free. He wanted to say, F you, leave me alone, let me be. There's also another reason it's stuck in his chest. What do the lungs and chest represent?
Well, breath and life force.
Right. And if you take it to an even simpler way, yes, of course, we can't live unless we breathe. But what do we go? Oh, that's a huge load off my chest. Oh, I can breathe easily again.
Yeah.
Let me breathe in and take in life. So for this little boy, when the anger is also stuck in his chest, it means that he's not free to breathe, to express, to flow with life. So all of that makes sense. And again, who's blocking him from doing all of this?
Well, it's maybe I'm intellectualizing it, but himself and his perception of his mother. But I guess at that point in life, it would be the mother.
Right. Now, it makes sense that as an adult, you'll say, well, wait a minute, whatever this parent, friend, boyfriend, girlfriend's trying to do is their business. I decide my own responses. But we're talking about a little boy who's 3 years of age, whose identity, self-image, the way he sees himself, the way he perceives himself, what he thinks about himself, what he thinks about the world around him will all be determined by his experience with his parents and the world around him. So it makes complete sense that he's angry at his mother because she's not allowing him to be free and because her fear is being layered on top of him. She's also transferring her fear onto him.
Yeah.
So how would this little boy like to let go now of all of that old red anger in his throat and chest?
I guess just breathe it out, really.
Right.
Just exhale it, kind of.
Okay.
The feeling. Yeah.
So now that he's willing to finally let go now of all of that old red anger from his throat and chest, let him just go ahead and breathe it out and let me know when it's done.
Okay.
Is it done?
Yeah, I think it's pretty damn close. Yeah.
All right. So connecting with this little boy, can you connect with him again?
Yes.
How does he look, feel, and respond now?
Well, he's smiling. He feels lighter.
Excellent.
And, yeah.
So you put your arms around him and you say, thank you. Well done. I'm proud
Thank
of
you.
you.
Well done. Mm-hmm.
And I'm proud of you.
And I'm proud of you.
Excellent. Now let's continue to help him because there was another belief he had, and that belief was that he's responsible for his mother. What is the role of a parent?
Exactly. The parent's job is to take care of the child, not the other way around.
Okay. So you're already jumping ahead because you've gotten it.
Yeah.
So we might even go one step further and say the role of the parent is to give to the child everything that the child needs to realize his or her full potential. And that would include taking care of the child, loving the child, feeding, guiding, etc. And I can even send you an article on 60 things that every child needs.
Oh, I'd love that.
If the parent's role is to give to the child everything that he or she needs to realize his or her full potential, what's the role of the child?
To take it in. And
yes. If the role of the parent is to give to the child, what's the role of the child?
Yeah, take.
To take,
And
or put a
receive.
different way, to receive. But what was this little boy doing?
He was taking on responsibility for making his parent okay rather than the other way around.
Wasn't just that he felt responsible for her, he was trying to take care of her and make her feel okay. What does that do to a child, male or female?
Well, I think it makes them, made me feel confused.
Let's talk about the little boy.
Yeah.
How did it make him feel?
Made him feel confused and upset and frustrated.
Confused
and
upset,
over and burdened.
And burdened.
Yeah.
So ultimately, that pressure is what for this little boy?
It's a burden.
It's a burden. And that burden is what for this little boy? How does it feel when he's carrying that burden?
It's it's heavy and painful.
Oh, it's not just exhausting, it's heavy and painful. So let's help this little boy, because what's our goal in helping and supporting him? What are we trying to share with him right now in this moment?
I'm trying to make him feel that, or to know that it's none of this was his responsibility and that he doesn't have to carry it anymore.
So we're not necessarily trying to make him feel anything. What we're trying to help him to do is to set him free from those heavy emotions, from the burden, and to help him to get to the place of realizing what his real role is, and that is to be a child, not an adult to the parent. That he's supposed to be the child to the parent. He's not supposed to be the parent to the parent. So you can either take the lead or I can guide you. What do you say to him to help him to understand that it's not his role or responsibility to take care of mom?
What can I say as an adult now to that child?
Yeah, now, and if you like, I can guide you.
Yeah, guide me. Yeah, guide me.
So connecting with this little boy, you say to him, I understand you love your mother.
I understand you love your mother.
I understand you care about her.
I understand you care about her.
And I understand you wanted to see her happy and well.
I understand you wanted to see her happy and well.
I understand that you want to see her happy.
I understand you want to see her happy.
And I understand that you get worried when she gets worried.
I understand that you get worried when she gets worried.
But it's not your role to take care of mom.
But it's not your role to take care of mom.
You can love mom, but it's not your role to take care of her.
You can love mom, but it's not your role to take care of her.
You can love mom and you can let her be.
You can love mom and you can let her be.
In the same way that you want to be free, you can allow mom to be free.
In the same way you want to be free, you can let mom be free.
Excellent. How does little Bob look, feel, and respond so far?
There's a relief.
Sense of relief. Excellent. And of what
relief,
is he relieved? Of what is he relieved?
Relieved of that he can just be himself and not be the person that and feel or be the person responsible for someone else, someone else's feelings. Yeah. Excellent.
So we're still going to keep helping him, but meanwhile, you put your arms around him, you give him a hug, and you say, "Thank you, well done. I'm proud of you."
Thank you. Thank you. Well done. I'm proud of you.
And how does he respond to that?
Big smile.
Excellent. Let's continue to help him, because we want to really help set him free from this role that he took on of feeling responsible for his mother. So you say to him, "You're just a child.
You're just a child.
You're a wonderful, beautiful child, but you're just a child.
You're a wonderful, beautiful child, but you're just a child.
You're not an adult.
You're not an adult.
It's not your job to take care of mom.
It's not your job to take care of mom.
And you can't control her.
And you can't control her.
And you can't make her happy.
And you can't make her happy.
I understand you love her and want to make her happy, but you can't make her happy.
I understand you love her and you want to make her happy, but you can't Make her happy.
Excellent. And then you think about this. Who can make mom happy?
Yeah. Who can, mom can make mom happy.
All right. So you say to him, little Bob, the only person that can make mum happy is mum.
The only person that can make mom happy is mom.
You're not her parent.
You're not her parent.
You're not her father.
You're not her father.
You're not her husband.
You're not her husband.
You're not her confidant or partner.
You're not her confidant or partner.
You're her son.
You're her son.
She's supposed to take care of you.
She is supposed to take care of you.
It's mum's role to take care of you.
It's mom's role to take care of you.
Excellent. How does little Bob respond now?
Same, just feels good about not having to deal with that burden anymore.
Excellent. Does he still think, though, that perhaps it's his responsibility to take care of mum or to make her happy?
No.
All right.
No. Mm-mm.
How can we confirm that? Connecting with him, does he recognize that he's a child?
Yes.
Does he excellent. Does he recognize that it's his job to receive love and care and nurturing and provision and everything else from his mum and dad?
Yes.
Excellent. Does he recognize that he's a child and therefore he's free to play, to be curious, to have adventures, to explore?
Yes.
Excellent. So again, you put your arms around him and you say, thank you. Well done. I'm proud of you.
Thank you. Well done. I am proud of you.
How does he respond to that?
Believes it.
He believes it. Even better.
Yeah.
So let's confirm again as you look at him, has all of that old red anger from his throat and chest gone?
Yeah. It feels pretty gone. Yeah.
Excellent.
I don't feel it in him and I don't feel it in me.
Excellent. And the idea is to see if you can, is to focus on seeing it and feeling it and sensing it in him. And if you're connecting with him and you don't see it there anymore, you don't sense it or feel it, then he's free of it. Excellent. What is your image of him? How do you see him now?
I see him as stronger, and this might sound like an odd word, but cleaner, like
cleaner. So stay with me.
Yeah.
This is important.
Okay.
You're doing great. What does it mean when you say you see him as cleaner?
There isn't a lot of, or there isn't, emotion holding him down and churning in there and gumming up the works.
Okay, great. So again, connecting with him, you say to little Bob, I see you.
I see you.
I hear you.
I hear you.
I'm listening to you.
I'm listening to you.
I'm right here with you.
I'm right here with you.
And I'm committed to fully understanding you.
And I'm committed to fully understanding you.
I'm here to help and support you.
I'm here to help and support you.
I love you and I care about you.
I love you and I care about you.
I accept you and I approve of you.
I accept you and I approve of you.
And I believe in you.
And I believe in you.
Excellent. How does little Bob respond?
Really well. Just relief again. Just kind of like this is the way it's supposed to be.
Excellent. And of what is he actually relieved?
He's relieved of having to feel responsible for somebody else, and he's relieved of the weight of all that stuff that he's been carrying.
Excellent. So in a future session, if you choose, if you decide to do so, we'll continue to help and support him by helping to even further enhance the relationship with his mother. And that means to neutralize any disempowering beliefs, any other emotional pain, any other inaccurate conclusions he made about himself or the world around him. And we do that again by interacting with him and interacting with mum the same way you interacted with a little boy. Meanwhile, can you imagine lifting up little Bob in your arms
Hmm.
and you give him a kiss and a hug and you say, I love you.
I love you.
And then when you're ready, you take in a deep breath and you allow him to become one with you as you breathe out now.
Whoa, that was a
Yes?
little involuntary body reaction there. That was kind of cool.
Okay. What does that mean? An involuntary
I kind of like had a little spasm there in my throat and chest, like a connect, like we hooked up.
Okay. And how do you feel now?
I feel good, man. Like I feel really good. I can feel like the tension in my face is less, and my eyes feel like lighter. I feel better.
Excellent. Well done. Well done. So if we come back to the original question, which is, what is you want that you don't yet have, and you wanted to be more vulnerable, you wanted to be less defensive, less guarded, so you could feel happier, more enjoy, more in the moment, more peace. How do you feel now when you think about being open, and open-hearted was a word you used, open-hearted and vulnerable?
Well, right in this moment, I feel very that it's totally not a big deal to be that way. That there's nothing that is really going to hurt me if I am that way, and it's attractive to me to do that. I don't feel guarded right
Excellent.
now.
Well done.
Yeah.
So, of course, the test comes, or the assessment of the work comes when you're in a relationship, when you're interacting with people, with your wife, children, brothers, sisters, cousins, aunts, uncles, whoever, and you notice how you respond if you are more open with your feelings, if you're less defensive. And even if you're not fully aware of it, someone will say to you, wow, you're different, Bob. I don't know. And you go, what? Is there something wrong? You go, no, I don't know. You just seem different. You seem a lot lighter, or whatever it'll be. So that's the way to assess it. I don't know all of your experiences because I don't know your entire story. So I don't know what your relationship was with your father or what other experiences you had. Those other experiences and that other relationship with your dad, with a grandma, grandpa, or a neighbor can also impact the way that you feel about the world around you and about being more vulnerable. But it seems to me that perhaps your mother was the dominant one, so she had the greatest impact on you. Is that true?
That is true.
All right. So that's something to consider now. You say, okay, great. I've just done this work with Patrick Wanis. What do I do next? And the first thing that I suggest to clients, now, of course, the session with the client is usually longer than this. It's closer to 90 minutes. We just went straight in. We just did a certain amount. I think we did like about 30, 34, 35 minutes. And then I suggest to clients, okay, you'll get a link to download a copy of the recording of the session, listen back to it, go through it again, make sure that you visualize and experience the emotions in the younger you, in the little boy or the little girl, and notice how it becomes reinforced by going through it a second time.
Oh, okay.
And then give yourself some specific actions to take, not big things. Just think of an example where you might say, I noticed the other day with my wife or with whoever it was, I was a little guarded. How would I respond now if I weren't guarded? And that already helps you to change the behavior. Because what we've done now is we've changed the actual belief. So we're affecting the brain in a completely different way. We're disconnecting that old belief, which is it's not safe to be vulnerable, because you used the word safe in the beginning. Once you engage in the practice of the behavior, then it becomes a new neural pathway in your brain. And then it's part of the program. So the other thing I was going to say, and I don't know if we said this today, because I do say it to clients, everyone's most likely heard of the expression neural plasticity. What that basically means is your brain can be molded, your brain can change, you can remold it, you can change your brain. What very few people understand is every moment of the day, you are remolding and changing your brain. You're either changing it to reinforce existing habits and behaviors, or to add layers upon them, or hopefully to break an old habit and to create a new neural pathway with new behaviors. So be aware that everything that you do, everyone that you expose yourself to, everything that you read, everything you listen to, everything you watch also impacts your brain and your belief system, going back to thoughts, emotions, and actions. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does. And it really sort of speaks to spending as much time with the type of things that are going to take you to where you want to be, rather than, redoing the same things that might not be working.
Right. And Bob, you're one of the reasons that you're also very quick in this process is I get the sense you've probably done a lot of inner work, whatever forms of therapy you've done, or whatever forms of inner work, introspection, healing. So that helped because you had some insights pretty quickly. And because of the work you do with your podcast, you're exposing yourself to lots of people that are sharing wisdom, insights, enlightening information, etc. And that's all a big positive contribution to changing your brain and keeping the change.
Oh, yeah, that's, one of the big reasons I wanted to do this type of a show in the first place, selfishly just to learn things because I'm curious and to, grow. And if I can pass it on, that's even better,
Excellent.
Yeah.
Yeah. And the other thing to note too is you've told me that you've been sober for 30 something years, correct?
Yeah. 36 years. Yeah.
So imagine if we had this process many, many years ago and we could have gotten to the root cause a lot faster. Do you think your life would have been different?
Yes, I probably wouldn't have been gravitated toward a medication. Let's put it that way. Self-medicating to relieve those feelings. Even during that session, I was like, oh God, no wonder I loved these certain types of chemicals that would change me. Even, I remember one time I was doing these muscle relaxants and drinking, and this friend of mine, this woman, said to me, oh, I really like you like this. I don't normally see you like this. I was like really warm and calm and open and really sweet.
You were open-hearted.
Yeah. And she's like, whatever you're doing, you should do more of that.
And what was it, drugs?
Yeah, it was muscle relaxants and alcohol.
Oh, it was muscle
mixed.
relaxants. Wow.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So the muscle relaxants also relaxed your actual armor. It's almost like you had body armor.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. I'll never forget that particular incident. I mean, there was a lot of those, but that just the way she said it to me, I really like you right now, where normally you're really hard to be around.
Well,
we're talking, 40 years ago.
Right. Probably. But I think most people will say that to us when we come more from the heart, when we're more open-hearted, people are more welcoming. And if we're not so often open-hearted, then people will really notice the difference.
Yeah.
So let me ask you this. What are your perceptions on the experience of this brief SRTT, subconscious rapid transformation technique process?
Well, I'm really quite taken with it. I'm curious to see, what
the impact is, the effect.
Yeah, what the impact is. Absolutely. But I like the sort of laser focus of going from one thing to another, logically, but with, a connection that I think that I know that you have, which was really great. So,
thank you.
Yeah, it seems very, very powerful. I am a believer in changing the brain. I think that is something that is doable.
Well, our brain is what controls us. People often think it's our thoughts, but they don't recognize that the brain and the thoughts or the brain and the mind aren't necessarily separate. It's very hard for anyone to say exactly where the mind is, where the thoughts are. That's all true. But when we're changing our thoughts, when we're changing our brain in various ways, whether it's through deep breathing, whether it's through meditation, it all has a total effect. The other thing is, recall at the beginning when I was explaining this process, I said, what we're really doing is we're going back to your core beliefs. We're identifying those core beliefs, and the core belief is, I'm not safe. I have to worry about my mother, and I have to take care of her, and it's not safe to express myself, and I can't speak up for myself to tell her leave me alone, and I want to be free. And instead of you and I just sitting there and talking for hours and hours about this, we're going directly to the subconscious mind. We're using the imagery to give us information. And when we impart the new information into your subconscious mind, the image organically changed. You said he felt relieved. You said he was smiling. You said he was lighter. And so those shifts in the images are organic, and they're telling you, oh, we've actually made a positive change. He's now smiling. He now feels lighter. Remember in the beginning, and we know this to be accurate because there was a moment when his response was, well, I don't know if I fully trust this or believe in it.
Yes.
But then later, he felt safe.
Yes.
So, yeah, this is a really, really powerful process. And that's why I have other therapists who refer clients to me. One is a therapist in a licensed marriage family therapist, LMFT in Texas. And when he gets couples who come in and he identifies that one of them, or maybe perhaps both of them, have experienced trauma or something else in their childhood that's blocking them, he says, look, you got to go see this specialist, this doctor friend of mine. You'll get results rapidly, then come back and we'll continue doing the work on the marriage.
That makes a lot of sense, because you can't fix in a marriage or in a relationship. You can't fix somebody else's trauma to sort of even the playing field. You're dealing with somebody else's past. You know, what's that great saying? We're all puppets whose strings are being pulled by the past. I don't know who said it, but I always love that.
But it's a good way to describe it, for sure. It's a great way to describe it, because often we don't feel like we're in control, and we wonder who else is actually controlling us.
Right.
It is us, but it's aspects of our past, because from our past, we made conclusions about ourselves and the world around us. That's all it is. What do I believe about myself? What do I believe about the world around me? Am I good enough? Am I worthy? Am I lovable? Am I special? Is the world a safe place? Is it a welcoming place? Can I trust other people? Will I be rejected, etc.? And one other thing I'd like to share with you, Bob, is that it was about 2006, from working with clients, and at the time I'd just started working with a lot of celebrities and famous people, and I saw how many of them were sabotaging themselves. And I realized something that I then coined as the law of deservedness. You only get what you subconsciously feel and believe you deserve, and no more. If you get more, you'll sabotage it, you'll push it away, or you simply won't enjoy it. Now, I know that this is not a law of physics, so I can't, even though I'm using the term law, but from a psychology perspective, it simply means if you don't think you're good enough, you're going to avoid setting big goals or having dreams or going after those dreams. Or if you still subconsciously think you're not good enough and you set a lofty goal or a dream, as you're getting closer to it, there's a part of you that says, no, I don't deserve this, and you'll sabotage it. Or if you persist and you actually achieve that goal, then there's another part of you that says, you don't deserve this. You're not good enough. You're an imposter. There's something wrong with you. This can't be right. If people knew who the real me is, they wouldn't like me, etc. Charlie Sheen went through it in the 1980s. He just never resolved it. That's why he ended up the way he did. But he actually said it on the set of whatever that movie was, the first Wall Street in 1980 something. And he used to go out drinking till all night, and he'd show up ready to shoot. And he actually said, and I've got the words somewhere in one of the articles I've written, said something along the lines of, is this all a fluke? I wonder if they'll catch me out one day. He didn't believe in his own talent. And of course, you know, when you become an actor, an actress, a comedian, when you're out in the public, then those insecurities, those self-doubt, that self-loathing is magnified 100 or 1,000 times. True or not?
I would say, yeah, I would say the idea of being an imposter of some kind would rear its head in those situations even more, because you're being lauded by,
so many people,
thousands. Yeah.
So that's the work that I do. You've got to really be focused when you're doing the work, because I'm just listening to everything you say. Even though, we've recorded this, and I know we also are looking at each other, Although, as I said to you, you can close your eyes and then we do the process. I do this work over the phone. I've been doing it over the phone for almost 20 years with people all around the world, with many clients that I've never actually met in person. So I have clients in Japan, in South Africa, in Russia, in the UK, in Australia, in Canada, and I've never even met them in Singapore, and I've never even met them in person.
Well, I could see how that would work over the phone too, because there is a certain freedom in just saying what's going on to just a voice, and someone you don't even know, that actually has no effect on your day-to-day life, other than what just the work.
Exactly.
So that would, in some ways, that would be really amazing.
It's a huge benefit, because it means when I work with clients, you can be sitting in your favorite chair in a sofa, you can be laying on a bed, you can be anywhere you like, where you can be just alone and at peace and at ease and turn off all distractions. You don't have to worry about your makeup, you don't have to worry about dressing up, you don't have to worry about driving. And right in that moment, once you close your eyes and you're just there in your safe place or your comfortable place, it's easier for you to let go and to be guided. And there's a sense of, as you said, sort of more a sense of privacy, and you have less fear or concern of being judged. And hopefully the way that I work with you is that you don't feel in any way that I'm judging.
I did not feel judged at all. In fact, for the people listening, I did have my eyes closed during most of that, which was very helpful to me to see the child and to actually feel what was going on in my body during that. So I did keep my eyes closed during most of it, which I found really valuable.
You're right, it is valuable. And I think I may have said this earlier, that this technique that I ended up calling subconscious rapid transformation technique evolved organically. And it is a combination, a hybrid of many different therapies, because it has elements of hypnotherapy. It has embedded commands from neuro-linguistic programming. It has elements of CBT, cognitive behavioral therapy. It has elements of positive and humanistic psychology. It has elements of Gestalt therapy. It has elements of psychoanalysis. And I know also elements of another unique therapy called Rohan. So I organically, unconsciously took little pieces of each of them and just sort of kept using them as the situation arises. As each moment comes up, there's something else that's being introduced. It's not formulaic, if that makes sense.
Yeah, the feeling I got was that I was connecting with somebody that was drawing on a lot of experience from a variety of places, and you were as in the moment. It wasn't. I didn't feel like anything. I mean, I knew it wasn't planned, but it didn't feel like anything was even close to being, this is the way I do it every time. I felt like you were completely listening to everything I said. You even picked up on some stuff that I didn't even know I said until you repeated it. So that was really great, just to feel like, oh, he's really like tuning into this thing and really trying to help.
Yes, thank you. And that's why it's important to listen back to it, because you'll hear things you didn't hear the first time.
Yeah, I'm sure.
And, you also said it, you said, this is strange because I'm feeling it in my neck or in my chest and my throat. And yes, I do respond to everything you say, and I'll respond to the pauses depending on what the question is. If you sigh, I'll respond to the sigh. If you have an emotion, an intense emotion, I'll respond to that emotion. If you started crying or having tears, I go, whoa, stop, hold on. Bob, this is not about you. This is about helping the little boy. And I say, are you willing to help the little boy? Yeah. Are you willing to help this little boy? Yes. Okay, are you willing to help this? Yes, I am. Great. So let's go ahead and help this little boy. And what I've done to you without you knowing it is I've actually taught you to separate that emotion that's been stuck inside you for decades. And I've just shown you that you can actually control it. And instead of it being in you, you're seeing it in the image of the little boy. And now we're going to let it go from the image of the little boy. That's why it works.
Well, it was an interesting thing that you mentioned that, because in the point where you said, where is it in your body? And I said, my throat, my chest. I started to feel like, oh man, I'm going to cry here.
Right.
And then you said something else, and I don't remember what it was. I'll have to listen, but you did put it back into the exercise. Yeah. And it went away in terms of myself. I didn't get the luxury, let's put it that way, of indulging that emotion, and probably, I'm going to just say it, reinforcing it in some way.
Right. So that's an important point. Reliving the pain and the suffering doesn't help you, because all you're doing is you're digging the groove deeper and deeper, the groove of that emotion and that pain. We want to help you to realize, oh, I can actually see that emotion in the little boy who's the one that actually experienced it, or the little girl, and then to see that little boy and little girl letting go of it, and you're now letting go of it inside you.
How do people get a hold of you?
My website is Patrick Wanis, PatrickWanis.com, patrickwanis.com. And there's a link there that says book a session, phone consultation. So you can do this from anywhere in the world.
That couldn't be any easier.
Right, there it is.
And looks like the sun went down where you are.
Yeah, I'm in Miami right now, and yes, the sun's just set. So it's a beautiful night.
Thank you so much for that. That was just absolutely fantastic. I love, doing this podcast, but it's rare that I have an actual experience like that, which is really, really great. And I am so looking forward to seeing the next few days and re-listening. So that's
yes.
amazing.
And please send me a note. You've got my contact information, so send me a note and tell me about the changes. Or add them. I don't know if you added to your podcast a note to say, yeah, I went through an experience, and yes, it actually worked.
I will actually do that, because by the time I edit it, I will have, had some time. Yeah.
Yes. And then if in the future you decide you do want to do some more work on the same thing as we discussed, you know how to reach me.
I do. Thank you so much.
All right, Bob, you're welcome. Thank you for the opportunity to share my work and my message with you and everyone that's listening to you.
Keep up the great work. Thank you.
Thank you.
Much appreciation for you guys listening in to The Exploding Human. Check out the website, theexplodinghuman.com, The Exploding Human with Bob Nickman YouTube channel, and The Exploding Human Facebook page. Once again, I want to thank Patrick Wanis for a fantastic talk. That little mini therapy session that I had with him was quite spectacular. Everybody have a great day. Appreciate you listening in. Thank you.